Okay. The Pope. Pope Francis. Pope Francis, weeks ago, was giving an interview, and they asked him about the American election, and he said, "Well, it's really a choice. It's a choice between two evils." He said, on the one hand, you got this person who supports abortion, who's pro-choice. On the other hand, you got this person who treats immigrants awfully and terribly. And that's sinful, he says. So he takes these two policies, these two positions, and he says because one candidate supports one and the other candidate supports the other, really it comes down to the lesser of two evils. Now, I get what he's trying to say, right? He's okay. In his mind, in his mentality, being pro-choice is wrong. Abortion's wrong under any circumstance. Therefore, anybody who supports it is wrong. Is evil. It's an evil thing to support. I don't think he would say Kamala Harris is evil. I think he would say it's an evil thing to support. On the other hand, he says you got immigration, and you've got these people, these people who are coming to your country, who are desperate, who are walking thousands of miles, crossing the border. Maybe legally, maybe illegally, doesn't really matter for the Pope. He's saying it's our responsibility as Christians to look after them. It's our responsibility as Christians to take care of them. And yet we got a guy who's saying, in Donald Trump, you're going to deport them all, and they're all this and they're all that, and the lies that he spewed about them. And the Pope says, and that is an evil thing to support. Now, I've given this a lot of thought. I've tried to do this talk like 2 or 3 times already, and I've never come to a place where I felt like I really hit the nail on the head. But the Pope's wrong. And I think maybe that's part of my block. I love Pope Francis, but he's wrong on this. This isn't a choice between the lesser of two evils on these issues. Voting for the president, voting for a prime minister, voting for the head of your nation is not about simply voting for a policy. You're also voting for a person. And you're voting for a person, you're voting for their character. You vote for a person based on what you've seen, based on what you've heard. You vote for them based on their behaviors, based on how they treat other people, based on their policies, not just those two, but all of their policies. What do their policies entail? How will their policies impact people? It wasn't until Kamala Harris had that interview with Fox, and in it she was asked a question. I think it was Bret Baier said something along the lines of, "Listen, half the country likes this guy. If he's as awful as you say he is, how do you wrap your brain around the fact that half the country likes these guys?" He says, "Are they misguided? Are they stupid?" And she responds, "Lord, no, I would never say that. I would never say that they're stupid. I would never demean the American people like that. But if you listen to him," she says, "if you listen to him, he does demean people." Now, in that, what she's talking about is he's gone on to say things like, if you're Jewish and you're voting for Kamala Harris, you need to have your head checked. And if you're an African-American man and you're voting for Kamala Harris, you should have your head checked. And basically what he's saying is anybody out there who doesn't vote for me is obviously there's something wrong with you. Mentally, intellectually, emotionally, you need to get your head checked because you're not right. Right? That's what he's saying. So he is demeaning people in that capacity. Now, she goes on to really hammer him on the fact that, what he said last week was, to paraphrase, the internal enemies within the United States are the gravest risk. We don't need to worry about the dictators outside, the external enemies. We can, a good leader can take care of them. We need to worry about the enemies inside. And we should be willing to turn the National Guard and the military on them if need be. And now, before you think, well, yes, but who's he really talking about with the internal enemies? He's talking about the left. He's talking about those people he says are the radical left, and he names names. Adam Schiff is one of the names he throws out there. So he's talking about his political opponents. He's talking about people who disagree with him. He believes it's okay to pit the military against people who disagree with him. people who call him out, people who criticize him, people who condemn him. Send the military. Now that's a pretty awful thing. And whereas the Pope might say, oh, it's the lesser of two evils. No, in a democracy, that mentality is the most evil one you can possibly have. That understanding, that policy is the worst thing a democracy that can ever take place in a democracy. It's the worst thing for a democracy. That is the antithesis of a healthy democracy, is when you unleash your military against political opponents. She says he should be able to handle criticism without threatening the use of the military against those critics. And she's right. So the Pope was wrong. This isn't a matter of the lesser of two evils. I get it. Maybe you're pro-life. You're just absolutely against abortion, and it drives you nuts that the Democrats or the left or whoever are okay with it, for any reason. Okay, I get you. I understand. Their policy is coming into conflict with something, with a value that you hold dear. Understood. And I understand you don't care about immigrants because immigrants are here illegally. If they came normally and naturally, then it wouldn't be a problem, but they didn't. They just, swam across the river or climbed over the wall or walked through the desert for whatever reason. Does not matter to you. Immigrants are stealing our jobs. They're stealing our prosperity. They're stealing our homes. They're criminals. They're this, they're that. They're fresh out of the asylum. Fine. I get it. You have a right to have those opinions. I don't agree with them, but you have a right to have those opinions in your democracy. You have a right to express those opinions in your democracy. This guy's coming along. This Trump fella is coming along and he's saying, I'm going to take away your right to say anything that I don't like. I'm going to take away your right to say anything that runs counter to what I have declared. That isn't just a matter of a guy who, he's going to vote the way I want on this issue or that. This is a person who's promising. This is a person who's promising, who's stating for the whole world. He's telling you he's going to take away one of the most fundamental aspects of a healthy democracy: opposition. People who say something different than he believes, people who criticize him, criticize his government, criticize their policies, criticize their concepts of policies that they're going to have in 2 weeks. This is a true evil in a democracy. This is a truly dangerous position in a democracy. To my American friends, this isn't a matter of the lesser of two evils. Only one of these people is threatening to take away what is ultimately, I think, the most cherished of your values, the most cherished of your societal norms. Trump is threatening to turn your democracy on its head. He's threatening to take away the democracy. Amen.